All right.
We are live. Hey guys, this is Ruben from Dub's podcast Connection Loop. And I have with me Sheri. And Sheri and I are going to get into this topic of helping people, getting wealthy, getting paid what we're deserved,
Yeah.
and so many other topics. So we just kind of got into some exploration. But Sheri, share with me kind of what you're feeling right now. You know, it seems like we're in a paradigm shift.
I think that I'm incredibly sorry for the circumstances, but it is an incredible opportunity right now. So I'm really, really excited. And what I mean by that is we've been waiting a really long time for us to evolve better, both in terms of like how we live, how we treat people, how we make our money, how we consume, all that stuff. And so I know it feels bumpy and awful and, scary, but at the same time, it's the most exciting shakeup we've had in a long time. And it's going to give us the opportunity to get to an amazing place.
You know, I agree with you. I think that circumstances are what they are, and it's unfortunate in so many ways. But it's a time where I feel like people need the most empathy, the most compassion, the most help. You know, this idea of businesses addressing pain points, addressing struggle, and then providing a value, a proposition, some sort of a cure, a vitamin, a pill to help people. You know, I think that's just so relevant right now. You know,
yeah.
And so many people are suffering from.
I'm like a huge compassion is probably the number one thing people know me of. If you see my name in the world and people that know me from social media and the work I do and whatever, empathy would be the number one thing that comes up in compassion. And it comes from a place that I have an incredible horrid background of a lot of abuse and poverty and tough times and whatever. So you'd think I would be an ass. But actually it's because I've experienced those things that I don't ever want to treat someone like that I don't want people to experience that I understand the people who do that to people and why they do it and whatever. And I came out the other side as a massive compassionist person. And that is possible for anybody, no matter how wronged you've been or angry or whatever. And I think that's amazing that a lot of people don't know how to do that work or that that's possible. So that's cool too.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, I think ultimately right now, I also think that we have an opportunity to help people, to be compassionate, and also to benefit ourselves, and to grow. Like right now, I really feel like this is a fourth revolution that's happening right now, and we're in the midst of it. And a lot of people, it's difficult to see it when you're in it because you have to have that bird's eye view. But this is, in fact, in my opinion, to your point, a phenomenal time to help people, and I think to frankly get rich in the process. So, what have been your biggest takeaways right now in terms of providing value and then benefiting?
Yeah, I think that's a phenomenal question. So my original background is as a teacher, and so teachers get paid nothing to do amazing miracles every day, right?
Yes,
and so I come from the world of you don't make money and you shouldn't make money and whatever. And particularly in my, abusive marriage, the control, one piece of it was that I couldn't make money because I couldn't leave. So I was very conditioned for 20 some years of it's bad to make money. You can't make money, right? And so I had to learn to battle out of that. I am at a place where we absolutely have a right and an ability to earn what we deserve. And a lot of my greatest growth came from the fact that I don't accept not earning or having what I deserve, which takes an amazing point for somebody to move along that path. However, I know I create amazing value for people. And a lot of it was really getting through that beautiful personal development work of I do deserve the value that I give. I actually had an attorney the other day who was like, Sheri, gosh, for what you're doing for coaching for me, like I'm willing to pay you $500 an hour. Well, not a lot of people get paid that, right? I'm also a real estate broker, so I do very well, and I work in a nice price point. And it doesn't have to do with because I was interested in that. All of it's because I provide an amazing value and I care about helping people. And I finally got in line with what I deserve and what I owe, and I've got amazing blocks and boundaries over everything that doesn't work. And that was a lot of my key. Like I'm not working for free. I do a lot of causes and things, but in the general public, I'm not just working for free. I have done that my whole life. I am going to be paid what I deserve, and I deserve to be in a category where I can teach and show that, particularly as a woman. So a lot of it is you are serving as a model, not even talking about it, for other people who are watching, for every single person who couldn't make their way, because I've been there, they can see somebody where I get it and I'm no longer doing that. I've worked and earned my way here. And it's also, I'm completely open to thrive, where before it was always learn to survive, right? We don't have to be just surviving, particularly in this country, of we all can be at a thriving place. And just because I win doesn't mean you lost. Because when we learn to business collaborate with people, that's the new currency we're going to be working in. Everybody wins. Everybody gets a piece of the pie. I love your talent. I couldn't do this without you. And when we move to that mindset, that's where we all start doing better.
Well, what I'm learning here is that you in your life had an unlock, and you kind of realized, that you had something, an entity, you had issues, you had external factors, maybe internal factors.
Both.
And you unlocked from that, and you kind of broke that ceiling.
Yeah.
And to get where you are, I mean, what did it take? What did it take to actually blast through that?
It was not easy. So a lot of it is, parts of it, both societal and at home, was the conditioning of the mindset that's being told to you. So you have to, first of all, learn that's wrong. You have to backwards it about, that's not correct. And so a lot of it, for me, I do an awful lot of personal development work, and I'm willing to do it because it makes a huge difference. So since I'm 17, have been committed to personal growth. And so a lot of it is taking classes, going on YouTube, listening to podcasts, reading books. I read a ton. A lot of where I've grown in the last 4 years has been getting around and being with people that are ahead of me. So I have in the last 4 years spent more time with CEOs than I ever have in my lifetime. Well, they teach you a lot, and they know stuff I don't know. And they help me open up and see myself in a different way, where you don't have to be a helper. You can also be an incredible earner, and those pieces have helped me grow an awful lot. It's not easy. And it doesn't mean it's a success-only journey, right? So, I've had huge gains. And of course, we're all in a challenging time right now where things are, switching out a little bit. But a lot of it has been being willing to battle through learning all those pieces. And a lot of mine is put the horse blinders on. So you're not going to judge it while you're doing it. Just every day I'm working on what's the win. Where normally you're going, oh, the sky's falling down right now. I see that. So that I can't do anything today. Nope. It's you got to do this for a while and buckle in and do what can I do? And I need to not judge the results immediately. That's a big thing people need to learn right now. We want to judge our results on did I get a deal today? Okay, if not, I lost. No, right now we're working on you got to just do the piece regardless. I post on social every single day regardless. And I do that because the impact out to the world matters to me. And there's a lot of people hoping to have me help them raise the sun every morning. I know that from helping people prevent suicides and other things. So I have a commitment that I'm going to get up and I'm going to do it every day. I may see the gain right now, and I may see the gain 2 years down the road. Right now, I'm seeing a lot of gains from 2 years ago, the work I did, and people who have watched and followed and now realize I've got the experience and the wisdom that I do.
Well, it sounds like the opposite of this would be wrong mindset, wrong goals, wrong results. Our mindset being believing certain things that we shouldn't believe, being confined, being contained, being
oppressed.
Having negative influence, being oppressed.
Yeah.
The wrong goals are spending our time on the wrong things.
Yeah.
And then everything from there on out is the results, or I should say the lack of results. Right?
Absolutely. Yep. Very correct. And they change over a lifetime, right? So, what they might have been 2 years ago for people might be different today. Right now, we've got an amazing opportunity to redecide what you want, redecide what you're going after, redecide how you can best or fast get there if that's your goal,
Yeah, well, speaking of goals, how you said to keep your eye on the prize, you said to focus on the win.
Yeah.
What is that win? How high is too high for that win? Where do we land in this? How do we make it attainable?
Yeah. So I think the answer is that it's different for everybody. That is personal, that has to be respected, because there's a lot of amazing people that I have learned from, and yet I am not willing to do what they did to do their thing. Do you know what I mean? So there's amazing people who they are killing it every single day and they don't have a great relationship. I'm not willing to do that. That price is too high for me. And so each person's going to decide the cost of you getting what you are wanting to do. It's not just a financial cost. And so everybody's going to decide for themselves, how big is a win or what is the piece. And that's the hard part. We don't have a set answer for, of like, mine is also stage wise. So my 3 children are in college now. I got all the time in the world to spend on it. People who have children at home, the goal and the cost of that's going to be maybe different for them, and I'm in a spot now where I have more of the flexibility to do the piece. I do care about the finances. I do care about having a great life and all that. But for me, what I care more about is people, opportunities, and experiences. So I'm for the big win, always look at, and I'm definitely in a category now of, those are my 3 things the rest of the time: people, opportunities, and experiences, for my win.
So my win, I think, is having it all. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Great. You can.
I am in this mindset where we can attain it all. Now, that doesn't mean that I have achieved this.
Yeah.
But
me either, right? We're working at it. It's all good.
Right. And when I say have it all, I mean specifically starting with, health, starting with happiness, family relationships, kids getting educated, kids getting grown up, having fun, having that work-life balance, if even work-life balance is even a thing anymore,
It's called fluid and flow.
Fluid and flow,
fluid and flow, and I have fluid and flow every day on and off, so it's good.
Yeah, exactly. That dynamic. And then, of course, having career growth and having, success in business, whatever that might be to each and every one of us. The thing that I continue to find inspiration in is trying to help as many people as I possibly can.
Absolutely.
And to try to, right? And I love what you said earlier,
Definitely.
that, through negative, you were able to find, compassion, empathy, and then purpose, really.
Absolutely.
And then I think the second piece is figuring out ways to clone ourselves, so that if we have found something, and if we have found some ability or some piece of information or even technology, I mean, running Dub is a technology platform that allows people to communicate. The idea here is I think scale and finding things that work and just allowing people to use them in so many different ways and to share them in a lot of different ways. And I love, I've seen your content on LinkedIn. I think it's a great example. I'm inspired by the fact that you're posting every day on LinkedIn. That's awesome. That's the way it should be. It's only 1% of the people that are on LinkedIn that do that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And I don't do it for that. I do it because I know the individual people who are waiting for me, and they'll send me a message if I am late or something, which is funny. And so it's just about sharing the love. Like, I'm big about that. So.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's how we connected. So
yes, that's awesome. And I appreciate that so much. It means a lot coming from you too. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. And a question for you is, what have you seen? What are some of the changes that you've seen in real estate?
It's interesting in real estate. We were concerned right when this started that I lived through the Great Recession as a realtor, and I still have scars on my behind about it. And so
you're talking about 2008?
2008. Yep. Sorry.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of realtors that were all of a sudden, we're like, oh my gosh, we're not going to be okay. Real estate is so location based. So it's different for everybody. So where I'm at in Dane County, we are doing amazing. I, in fact, have places where I'm getting multiple offers. I can't get something on before it's sold. We are having to do a much bigger, different job because of the health and safety part of COVID, of just, certain number of people through at a time. I work for a company that is virtual and global. Like, you get a real agent, right? I'm who's going to take care of you, but we are set up virtually. So we are doing amazingly well. I'm also in a spot where I've put myself, when my kids went to college, my third one, I'm in a company where I can go anywhere in the world. And so I do a market here and also in Florida. And that's given me a nice flexibility, also just fun and interest. And so particularly where I'm at, real estate is doing great. We, in fact, our biggest problem is we don't have enough houses on the market. So if anyone wants to sell, call me, because this is a phenomenal time. We actually are in the great migration right now. So we've not since 1930 had the most people moving cross country and cross places based on what's going on societally. So that is amazing.
And they're moving from the big cities and going into more suburban kind of rural spots? Or
there's a lot of that. So I don't want to name, I'm a realtor and I got to be careful about fair housing, all this good stuff. So there's some that are for lots of different reasons. So there's some that are in big, huge cities choosing to move to smaller, calmer. There's others who have lost jobs that are choosing to go with family members or somebody for a year or longer. There's others who have chosen to downsize because they've realized I don't need this whole big, huge life, right? There's others who have decided, nope, I'm upgrading and upsizing and getting bigger because I'm going to be home more. And I want those offices or dual office in the workout room. So real estate's very interesting right now. There's certain pockets that are, having more challenges or not getting sold across the country. But in general, real estate isn't experiencing what we did before. And here's why. The mortgage people realized we can't put ourselves in a spot where we have all these empty houses, all these mortgage defaults and whatever. So right away you saw them when the interest rates were going lower and they're allowing people to put the payment on the backside. They're trying to prevent what we had in 2008 in the real estate industry. But real estate, might be the market that doesn't get hit hard this time. And I would love that because we did it last time and it was awful.
I think you're onto something. I think you're totally right. That's what I'm seeing. I mean, I live in
it every day.
Yeah, I mean, I live in Los Angeles, and I'm just surprised. I'm really surprised to see that multiple offers. People are interested. People are still looking for spots. So it's almost like, what is it that has caused recessions or corrections in real estate in the past? Is it consumers or is it the money supply? Is it banks?
Well, I can at least tell you in 2008, I experienced myself, and I'm not a whole country person, right? At that time I was in Middleton, Wisconsin. A lot of it was the fact that unfortunately lenders let people get applied for mortgages that had no financial ability to really
no docs.
Right. You have one hiccup and they're like into foreclosure. And so that was the problem. So I won't just blame the lenders, right? It was the lenders allowing anybody to qualify. And then on our consumer side, which this ties into what's going on right now, we were such a massive consumption culture, right? I have to have the bigger house, the bigger thing, the bigger car, we've been on that forever of consumerism. And so the lust was there on the consumer side, the lusting for the McMansions, the lusting for the bigger, the next, the lusting for and so, okay, I'll do it. And I don't have to put much down and the bank will let me, and I think it's okay. We used to have 25% debt to income ratio way back in the 50s. And now it's like almost 50%, and it was sometimes higher than that and no money down in 2008.
God.
Yeah. Amazing. So we need to not do that. Let's learn something from what we've learned, right?
So are we still suffering from that lust?
Yes, we are lusty. We are lusty people for sure. I will say that all of time.
Is that ever going to go away? Are we going to get to a point? I mean, if this didn't solve that, what we're going through in terms of going back to the basics and going back to family and going back to health and happiness and actually not really needing that fancy car or having an expensive timepiece on your wrist mean nothing. Yeah. If this doesn't fix that, what is going to fix that?
Yeah. So that's like the big, huge, gorgeous question, right? The answer is going to be human beings, I think, are always going to be lusty. I mean, it's just part of our genetics. On one hand, there's nothing wrong with being lusty if you can afford it. You're not wrecking all our landfills. You're not wrecking the earth about it, right? But we are always going to have a piece of that. Right now, we are getting a beautiful wake-up call about, gosh, do you want something richer and bigger and different in life, which might be the person next to you, that you're in a relationship with. And a lot of that is coming down and helping us see. We are in a nanosecond culture. We are in a nanosecond culture. So it used to be, you'd have to wait 3 years to be able to save for that car and get the car. Then it got to be, well, you can get the car real quick and easy online and whatever. Now we're in the nanosecond culture, and we have been for, a good 7 years. And what I mean by that is nanosecond responses, nanosecond social media, nanosecond dopamine hit when I see the piece online or the flashy, shoes I want or the whatever. And it's gotten down to nanosecond. And so part of it is we have to untrain out of that because we've gotten so addicted to it. And it doesn't feel us anymore.
And this is the title of your upcoming best-selling book, right?
Nanosecond culture. I'm a smart one on that. I know a lot about it. And so it should be for sure. And thank you for that. I'll have to do something with it.
Yeah.
But that's one of our biggest problems. And that nanosecond culture affects us in, all of our relationships, in our health and sexuality, in income, in all education, all of those pieces. And there's nobody who can argue they're not in the nanosecond culture. It's not a generation or age thing. We like to blame different ages and cultures and stuff. The 20-somethings are in the nanosecond, but you know what? So are those of us who are older. And so unhooking in the pain of this is a great opportunity. Yeah.
Well, I think the takeaway here is that there's a healthy wealthy.
Yes. And healthy wealthy is awesome.
And an unhealthy wealthy
is awesome.
Right. And I think that an unhealthy wealthy is rooted in trying to receive things, make up for things, to feel a certain way, to attain some sort of happiness that maybe is never attainable.
Yes.
Whereas healthy wealthiness is trying to provide and to build legacy.
Absolutely.
And to have resources.
Yeah. And if
generational if you're lucky.
Absolutely. And if you're doing that and you're doing that huge, there's no shame in that game, right?
There's no shame in that game. And
no shame in that game.
And mostly is giving back.
And you know what? Most of the people that are on that is their main underlying platform. It is the giving back, and that's okay. The other thing with the nanosecond culture is we are all operating 24/7 live, and everybody's watching and everybody's reacting to us 24/7 live. So part of that is the empathy of understanding we've been in a nanosecond culture. Let's give each other a break because I'm on the high wire while all the flyers and arrows are coming at me and I'm making a decision and I maybe was a jerk and I didn't mean to, or I'm so pressured by the end of the day, I just lose it, and we don't want to do that. That's not great. But just recognizing we have been living and right now we're in a super nanosecond culture, right? With everything going on.
Yeah.
If I need to then take a minute and tomorrow go, you know what? I was so sorry the way I reacted to you. I didn't mean to do that. Here's what was going on for me. Can you just, give me another chance at that or whatever else? We need to learn how to do that really graciously. And it's okay to do it after the fact off the high wire in this nanosecond thing we're doing,
Right. Takeaways for me right now are this unlock, this mental unlock, mental health.
Yes.
Self-love, personal love, setting the right goals, setting the right expectations, and then attaining a healthy wealthiness.
Healthy wealthy. Yep. I think if we could help 7.8 billion people do just that, the world would be better. Within a day, things would be massively better. And the trick is, how do we get that many people to take a look at this and choose it for themselves? And practice it and put it into implementation. It'd be amazing.
Well, I feel like, mental wellness is a really big, problem.
It's huge. So here's me.
And I say that with compassion.
Yeah, of course. So here's me. What I will say is we used to be, I know a lot about mental wellness and mental unwellness. And we used to be a culture where we super shamed that. People never talked about it. Yeah. My own father had electric shock treatment, and we now understand people have different wellness abilities. But here's the thing right now during this time.
And sorry to cut you off. When did you learn that your father had that treatment?
I knew that growing up as a child.
And what was it trying to solve?
Yeah. So my biological father, actually, they called it at the time bipolar, manic depressive personality, unfortunately. And so they used to try to solve that by hooking you up to just like the voltage to kill you, right? But they do it at a lower voltage. A human would strap you down. I think about this for my dad. A human would strap you down and hook electricity up to you and fry you to shake the crud out of you to help you behave normal in our society. And he was the most kind, gentle man. He just was not brain chemistry and body chemistry hooked up the same as myself or somebody else. And I go, oh, there's an example of the compassion I'm talking about, right? Of like what my dad or anybody else went through for us in society to start to understand, oh, we don't do that to somebody who's mentally not well. Would we do that to a child who just accidentally misbehaved? My gosh, we wouldn't, you know? And so I'm thankful that we have learned and come across this continuum to learn some things about mental wellness and people and crisis mental unwellness that happens to all of us, even usual people over time. We have a major traumatic event. We're going to be unwell mentally for a little bit while we heal, you know? But the bigger thing going on right now is even anybody who's been mentally well or healthy, we are all experiencing the number one crisis in this country, given everything going on, is a concern for mental wellness because of all the fear mongering, the trauma, our loss of economics for people, our, you know, all of the trauma pieces. If you've never even experienced it before, this is a piece that matters now for all of us because we need to continue to be well. We have a higher suicide rate than we do a COVID rate right now. That tells you something. And again, it doesn't need to be the people that are labeled and really have a medical mental unwellness. It is the person who used to be perfectly fine and had never experienced this huge need for resiliency that we're having to do right now. So any employer, any parent, any mom, any neighbor, anybody, the compassion is to look out for each other in mental wellness, just in how you doing. And it's just a healthy thing. It's not a condition, you know, and look somebody in the eye. We're a culture that's become very afraid of looking people in the eye, you know, and that's how I know how you're really doing. I'm not going to like make you really uncomfortable, but I'm going to be able to.
Well, that's like when you toast someone, if you don't look in the eye, you know, some people, 1 out of every 20 people call you out on it.
Yeah. But you know, it's like if I'm comfortable to just look you in the eye, I can see how you're doing, you know, a little bit. Or people laugh in my neighborhood. My kids are off to college and I'm like the child whisperer in the neighborhood. I sit out on the porch and all the neighbor kids come and chat with me. And all my other neighbors are laughing. They're like, gosh, all these little kids come to just talk to you in a day or whatever. And here's why. Their parents are busy. Like we're social distancing. They stay on the sidewalk, right? But the kids will come and they'll tell me all about their day. And they'll ask me questions and we'll talk because their parents are busy. But I have the time to just sit and I see you and you matter and I care about you. That's what we're doing. And so that's happening in this little block and kids come from a couple blocks up and the parents know and everybody's kind of, you know, one of the kids laughs on the door and can your mom come out and play, you know?
Yeah.
That's just good for people and it's good for our mental wellness.
This reminds me of something that happened to me recently and I feel like I should share it.
You should.
It's a little embarrassing.
No, it's good. It's good.
So, you know, it's about 9:00 and, you know, we're trying to get the kids to bed. It's been a struggle lately. We're in this cycle where we wake up late, they wake up later and they go to bed later. And we have a lot of fun. We're doing stuff. We're in the pool and we're doing Legos and building RC cars. So anyways, you know, we're trying to get to bed and all of a sudden, you know, we hear the doorbell ring incessantly, like ding dong, 20 times in a row, right?
Yeah.
And we're like, what is going on? And my wife freaks out. You know, she thinks that someone's like, this is like an attack, right?
It's our time, yeah.
Right. So, you know, I kind of race to the window where I can look outside. And then, you know, sure enough, I see that I see, you know, the neighbor's kid that's like driving away on the bike. And he just unleashed on the doorbell, right? And I don't think I was wearing a shirt and it was probably a little unclassy. So I open up the balcony door upstairs and I go out and I'm like this towering figure without a shirt. And I say, what's going on? I said, you scare the crap out of us. Yeah. What's happening, you know?
Yeah.
And I didn't scream. I didn't get upset. I didn't do anything terrible, but I was like, what's going on? You really scared us. So he came over and his father came over and, you know, they apologized. I was like, that's totally fine. I was like, we just got really scared. And, you know, you can't really do that, but we just got scared. I just, you know, but thanks for understanding. And I walked away from that experience and it was fine. I mean, you know, the parent apologized. We saw each other a couple of days later. It was totally fine. There was no issues. But, you know, in that moment, I kind of realized, and since then I thought about that a couple of times, where, you know, what is it like for a kid right now to want to have human interaction and to want to speak to you, Sheri, to speak to the
Yeah.
child whisperer.
Yep.
And to the extent that they'll go to a neighbor's house
Yeah.
and just go ballistic on the doorbell, it kind of made me realize that we're all yearning,
We are.
you know, for something deeper and
Yeah.
to have that connection. And
Yeah.
you know.
But can I help you also on your side of it? I would also like to say to you, your reaction was perfectly okay. It was, because I've taught a lot of kids and, have this education background. It was okay because that also helped that child understand you scared us.
Yeah.
You scared my family. And here's why that felt scary to us. And so I'm glad to be able to say to you, that was the right, good thing, and also it helps them have a family conversation at home of, gosh, when people feel nervous or whatever, sometimes that is the way they react to protect. You didn't do anything wrong, but the greatest thing you said was you scared us. And that was a beautiful conversation that wouldn't have happened. And so on your side, it was good and beautiful and okay too.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you saying that. I remember in that moment taking a moment to breathe and just thinking, awesome. Taking a moment and saying, look, and listen, I'm not gonna let the reptile brain unleash here.
Yep.
I can control it. I'm a little older in my days. I'm just gonna express the feeling that I'm getting, and I remember feeling a little bit happy after the fact, and I also thought that when as adults, so much of what we are doing is trying to get recognition, to try to be seen and heard by people.
Yeah.
And a lot of the reasons why we want to get money is to impress people.
Yep.
And I started to think that if we can just go back to this innocent, childlike, mentality, then, maybe we're not going to be doing things for the wrong reasons. Yep. And giving love to people and not instilling fear.
Yes. I think that's hugely important. And I grew up in an era where it was scare the kid to behave. Like that was just the culture. It was the culture of, it's part of why you go to church on Sunday in the old fashioned style of scare the crap out of them so they behave all week, right?
Well, that's also relevant for management.
Yes. And so here's me. My natural personality is like a grown woman who's amazing and a 5-year-old who just really has a great time, and a 17-year-old too. We train the greatness out of ourselves, that child wonder, that curiosity. Like right now, curiosity would solve a lot of things. Curiosity is the number one thing that's opposite of fear. It's curiosity.
So say that again.
So curiosity is the opposite of fear.
Okay.
So when we feel fearful, which we are a lot right now, the greatest thing we could do for ourselves is start to train ourselves on, I'm curious about that. Yeah, I'm curious about what might happen if I try this new idea. I'm curious about what might happen if I open the door and let my neighbor in, because look at your neighbor and you had an amazing interaction. The child learned something, right? A lot of what I'm doing and a lot of my new success, both financially and whatnot, came from the curiosity mindset of like, yeah, sure, I'll get into broadcasting. I didn't used to do that all the time. I've been speaking since I was 12, but I didn't do broadcasting. And so I've recently got into that, didn't understand the tech. I was nervous about it, whatever. But the curiosity has taken me to beautiful places. And if we could get management and everybody off of this fear-mongering, discipline, oppression behavior into collaboration, curiosity, just seeing what's going to happen. We have the greatest opportunity right now because of COVID to just try stuff, and we don't have to be great at it, because we all have to just try it. So we like the doors open of, guess what? Like we just have to try stuff. And if it doesn't work out, you're going to be okay. It was COVID, right? So like, nice. Let's just try some awesome stuff.
Well, what I might gather from this is that you are in a client-facing business. You're in the customer service industry.
Yep.
As a coach, as a guide, as someone in real estate. And I suspect that the way that we can be curious and to be empathetic and compassionate is to listen.
That's one way, for sure. Definitely. The other parts are just different ways of compassion. So part of it's listening. And then we're getting a little bit of blowback on listening only right now, because people are going, yeah, that's a great first step, but we can't just listen. The next step for me is I'm listening, and then my own self, I'm stepping back and above the situation. Because when we're in it, we're too emotional. So I'm going to step back and above, like I'm watching a movie, and I'm taking everything I listened to, of all, whether it's employee issues, management, whatever, or it's in the area of, race or whatever's happening. And I'm going to think, what do I think about that? What's my opinion? What's my stance? How do I see things that might come together or get fixed? And then you're using your own experience and your own brain power after the thinking. And once you are thinking and watching, now what seems right for you to do? What might be a solution? Because we want to move to solutions, and those will both be societal and they'll be wealth solutions, And we have to do that, like you are an expert, you are a contributor. We're all a contributor. We're all a thinker, after the listening.
Is the enemy in this equation the ego?
If you want to use the word enemy, it's almost always the ego. Like the ego is our biggest trouble we got,
We are our own worst enemy, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely. And like ego is the biggest challenge and difficulty we have here, I think.
And speak to that. How do we unlock that?
Yeah. So I just don't want my ego to drive me. It's okay to want things, or we all want to be good at what we do and all that kind of stuff, but I can't want my ego over everything else that I'm really doing. So here's an example. Making impact is huge for me. So I care about impact in the world just to make a difference. And I'm unattached to the results about that. Ego would make me very attached to those results. How many followers do I have? How many likes? What's in my bank account? What's my, and we all are egoic. I have worked hard in process to be not as attached to it. It used to matter to me. I wanted that particular house, right? And this, my kids look like this, and the sports family, And I have just learned and watched so much over ego, and it really ruined people. And so a lot of it was me reading and learning and talking to other people. The ego isn't really a nice person. So that's a lot of what helps me, because usually the ego doesn't have altruistic interests. The ego usually cares, you have to lose if I want to win. Instead of collaboration is we can all win and we can all contribute. We can all have, great pieces and things and whatever. So a lot of I think the vast majority of humans, the biggest thing they battle while they're here on earth is ego, and you have to be willing to take a look at your own ego and be honest.
Yeah.
And our old way of how we used to compete and it's falling apart right now. It's falling apart right now. And a lot of people are like, but I don't want to let that go. And I want to go back to that and whatever. But that was a lot of ego. It was a lot of really big ego in the way we used to compete.
Well, it's all based on scarcity, right?
100%.
There's limited amount of resources, and it's a game. We have to get it first, and if we don't, then other people will. And there's not enough sunshine to go around. Right.
And ego is very much arrogant. It's incredibly arrogant. It's not gracious.
Yeah. What is groupthink?
Yeah. Well, I'm a disruptor, and I have been since I was little, right? And so for somebody who's like a disruptor is always looking at, like, I couldn't understand why things were a certain way, So I've always been a free spirit or independent spirit to go, well, but why are we doing that? Or why is society acting like this? As an example, groupthink is across all kinds of organizations, industry, races, culture, financial. And what groupthink is psychologically, when we are together with even two people or more, there is a general likelihood that I'm going to agree with you just to get along and not have an issue. It's just easier. Politically, we have a lot of groupthink. So who is ever in that political party, groupthink means we're going to kind of all just agree to think the same, whether we do or don't or whatever. And me sitting in the seat as a jury person, let's go to a jury situation with 12. Groupthink it is easier for me as a jurist of 12 people deciding for somebody oh gosh, they're going to be mad at me if I say, forget it, that person is not guilty, because we don't get to go home. They don't get to go home. That's the worst place groupthink should happen, but it happens all the time in groupthink. And so you go along to get along in groupthink. And the opposite of groupthink would be individual thinkers, individual speaking voices, people who are willing to, and it doesn't always have to be this combative, disruptive thing, but it's just, I don't agree with that. Here's how I see that. And not a lot of people are willing to do that, but we need a lot more people willing to let go of the group think and get on to, what do you really think individually? What's your opinion? What's your stance? What do you want to do about that? You have to be willing of like, I don't care if you're upset with me. This is what I feel is right. You know, a lot of it has to do with opposite of group think is, what do you think is right? Because group think is just go along to make it easy. And it might not be the right thing. Mm-hmm. A non-group think would be a dissenter as well, you know, just that person's on their own and got a whole different thought and whatever. But Elon Musk would be an example, right? Of just, he's a dissenter. He's going to do things the way he sees it and build his wealth the way he sees it and whatever else. He's absolutely not a part of group think.
Yeah. Well, I think what's so interesting about him is that he'll take dissent and he'll turn it into such an amazing positive. I mean, talk about taking criticism and then actually, not metaphorically, actually turning it into a product that he sells on the Tesla shop and sells and sells out of. Like when a bunch of people shorted the Tesla stock, he sold shorts on the Tesla shop. And he sold out because it was basically a dig at just people shorting the stock. So I love how what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to connect this idea of being an individual.
He's a super individual. Like,
yes.
So I'm not even making the comment of whether your viewers agree with him or don't agree or whatever. Don't get hung up on that. He's just an amazing example of an individual, you know, and not a group think.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Amazing. Really, really great conversation. God, we got into it. Yeah, we got into some really interesting topics here.
That's what we're supposed to do, right? Like this is what I love about being a podcast guest.
Yeah.
I don't do a podcast myself because you and I created something unique and individual as a contribution to the world. That's what's super cool. And then you're going to do it with somebody else and do something really cool as well. So that's cool.
Well, this will also have wings because, you know, we're gonna share this and we're gonna cut it into some smaller clips and, you know, we'll continue the conversation.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate everything that you do. Appreciate the invitation to contribute. That's what's fun. And super cool platform and digital pieces that you have as well. So that's neat. I learned a lot also.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for saying that. Where can people find you and connect with you?
The easiest place I hang out is at LinkedIn, actually.
Okay.
I do have some of my pieces on YouTube, and everything's under my own name, just Sheri St. Marie. My real estate website is StorylaneProperties.com. But I'm also on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter under Sheri St. Marie. Everything Sheri St. Marie.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sheri.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Take care. Bye-bye.
You too. Thanks.